Welcome, everyone. This is Hannah Renan.
And Christina Brown.
And you're listening to Two Moms and a Couch podcast. Today, we're actually talking about something that's seemingly small, but I know for me, it's something I struggle with a lot. And I think Christina has some helpful tips, and we're going to just talk about sort of how you manage different things. We're actually talking about grocery shopping on a budget, meal planning, or at least managing your groceries so that they don't go bad, and dealing with potentially picky eaters.
Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff. I think, especially in this day and age, like even though things are, maybe coming down a wee tiny bit in some areas, like eggs and stuff, like I think it's really important to learn how to really be intentional about what we do with our groceries. I feel like it's one of those budget categories that people typically overspend a lot in, regardless of what the economy is doing, right? So
it's the easiest thing to lose track
of. I have a cat scratching things.
Oh, yeah,
like 2 seconds. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, welcome. You're listening to Two Moms and a Couch podcast, and I am Hannah Renan.
And I'm Christina Brown.
And today we're talking about something that I struggle with quite a bit, and it impacts, my family and our budget, which is grocery shopping. And I know with the cost of groceries going up, one of the things that I have always struggled with, no matter what the price of groceries were, was shopping on a budget, and managing my groceries for the week or for whatever number of days so that food doesn't go bad. Particularly where my partner, my spouse, is a picky eater and my kids are picky eaters. And I have a very different diet than the rest of my family. I don't really eat meat, and I'm lactose intolerant. So I have very specific things that I can and cannot eat, whereas the rest of my family can pretty much eat anything they want and do.
Yeah, no, I definitely think groceries is one of those areas that is typical for families to spend over in. And I think it just really boils down to a couple of qualities I like to think of as being intentional, but also being resourceful. Intentional about what we buy and how much we spend. And then also really resourceful with using, the things that we buy, and sometimes being creative, like if we need to, if maybe we're not feeling the food that we originally planned or intended, how can we get creative with the ingredients that we do have, and still use them, but maybe it's not what we originally thought we were going to eat.
So how do you do that for your family?
So I think it starts a lot with the being intentional portion of it. And groceries, used to be an area that I would spend a ridiculous amount of money in as well. I would spend, at least a couple $100 when I went to the grocery store, which, is a lot, because like for my size of family, because it was just, myself, my little one, and my mom at the time when I was spending that much. So doing, at least 200, 240, a week, definitely adds up to, 800, 900, almost $1,000 a month on a really small family. And, much of that did go to waste. So over the last few years, I definitely started to tighten up in that area. And one of the biggest things that helped is my meal planning system, where, I'm really big about taking a look on a monthly basis to understand what we have going on in the month. Let me back up a wee bit from there before even looking at the month and any special occasions. It really starts with the understanding that weekends are when we eat out. So Saturday, I expect a full day of eating out, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if we want to. And I'm okay with that. Like my budget is okay with that, and my health is okay with that, because that's the rhythm that we've put into place. Sunday is typically like a maybe breakfast and lunch, or probably do like a nice brunch out. But usually we do eat dinner at home. And then Friday night, for as long as my kiddo was like 2.5, has always been, movie night. And we always do pizza, whether it's homemade pizza or, um, you know, delivered or picked up from somewhere. So it really started with that and getting really firm around not eating out as much, because that's also something that I would do a lot. I would, work 12 hours at the office and then not really feel like cooking dinner,
Yeah.
as a single mom. So oftentimes, like I would say, yeah, like two times a week, which for me is more than enough. And I just mean like the work week. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pick up some food. And not only was that not healthy, like not the healthiest thing to do, it was also very costly too. So in addition to the, 200, 240 I'm spending on groceries, I'm also spending, 100,
Six to
150
seven
bucks
hundred
on,
dollars a month. Yeah.
yeah, on eating out. So it was ridiculous. And I really didn't want to keep eating out as much. But I really realized that, like, when I started working longer hours, I got to a higher level in the corporate world. That's when I started getting a little bit lazier when I came home and not really wanted to
I
cook.
don't
So I
like the
had to
word
change
lazy
that.
when I don't like saying the word lazy when it comes to moms and like all the stuff we juggle, by the way.
I mean, I can respect that, but for me, it was definitely laziness. Like
Okay.
I could have cooked food, but I chose not to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I know I was working a lot, but I mean, I don't believe in excuses.
Okay. Fair
So,
enough.
I don't believe, or I'm not applying that to anybody else. Like, but for myself, like it was laziness. I could have cooked and I chose not to. So that's exactly what I did. I took a look at myself and I was like, listen, is this what you want for your kid?
Yeah.
Is this like, and at the time I was like really, strict about my diet as well, and what I was consuming, because I was working on losing a lot of weight. I didn't have a ton of time to exercise. But my weight shifted a lot after, having a kiddo, even in the couple of years past.
Yeah.
So I was working on, eating and changing the way I was eating so that I could lose weight without exercise. And it worked tremendously. So when I did get a lot more intentional and I said, this is something that's important, I made it important, and I actually made sure to make the time and like look at it from a different standpoint, so that every day I did come home and cook a meal, even if it was like repurposing, something from the previous day. So a couple of different things there. Number one, it was really getting those rules in place and being like, okay, we'll keep the movie night, of course, because I love
Sure.
that. And my kiddo loved that. And
Yeah.
Saturday is our big eating out day. Whatever the heck we want to eat, like we can eat it on Saturdays, Sundays a little bit. And
Hmm.
those became the rules of the land. And then I started meal planning a lot better. So I would look at the month, and if we had any events going on, or any work functions where I knew there would be food, I would mark those off on the calendar. And then if we had, like family things, typically those things would happen on the weekends, but occasionally they'd be during the week. I would want to have those marked down so that I didn't expect to make food for that day and I could plan accordingly. And then on a week by week basis, and I still do this to this day, I go in and I say, okay, Sunday through Saturday, what are the, meals that are planned? And I just got super duper intentional about, well, this is the food that we're going to eat. This is, I make the meal plan, and then these are the groceries that I need for these foods. And I start by taking a look at the, pantry. I know that some people like to look at the pantry or like research like recipes on the internet and then see what they can fit into that and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of looking up recipes. I just like to experiment. But I know that that's really helpful for some people, like to keep like a little recipe journal and print stuff
Yeah.
out and see, of the foods that I have left over, what can I make with this? But yeah, I just got super intentional and I stopped going to the grocery store as much. I think that when we are going to the grocery store like so often,
Oh
then of
my
course we're
God.
going to spend more money
Yeah,
and
I
pick up things we don't need.
yeah, so like let's talk about managing fresh food. Because I feel like for us at least, pantry items not such a big deal. They're tend to be shelf stable, they last longer, like they don't
Yeah.
spoil as easily. But I find like my fruits and veggies like go fast, like they go fast. If depending on a lot of different things. Like there's some like fruits and veggies that spoil or ripen much faster than others. It depends on like where you put them in your kitchen type of thing. And also, I mean, one of the things that we struggle, like our kids eat a lot of fruit, but there are days where they don't want a particular fruit, like even though I've prepared it. Um, and so do you just say like, okay, but that's the only option tonight?
Yeah. So, I stopped going to the grocery store as often, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that includes the, um, you know, my kiddo asking me to pick up something,
Got it.
you know what I
Okay.
mean? So I changed that habit and that helped to kind of curtail the behavior of thinking, well, if I want something, mommy's going to go to the store and pick it up. So
Mm-hmm.
that it could be more about, well, we're eating what we have at home. And then the next time I go to the groceries, which I go to the grocery store 2 times per day, I mean,
You
per
mean per
week.
week? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Sunday is my like big grocery stop shopping day. I'll get all of the non-perishable things that I need for the week and anything that's perishable that I need until Wednesday. And then Wednesday I go back to get a couple of things that I'll need for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Do you keep
So
track of when your grocery store has its like deliveries?
I don't know. I shop with Publix. It's my
Okay.
favorite store ever. They change things. Their sale or their week starts on Thursdays, and I believe it's because they get their deliveries on Wednesdays, if I'm not
Mm.
mistaken. I should know that. My brother would strangle me. Like he's a manager with Publix. It's a phenomenal
Oh.
company. I love Publix. I always try to give them as much of my business as I can. They're a wonderful company, but I think it's for that reason. But the Sunday and Wednesdays, just because that is what makes sense to help with that, things not expiring or going to waste.
Sure.
So then you're not going on Sunday or Saturday, whenever you grocery shop, you're not going to buy fruit for the entire week. You're just going to buy fruit for the next, 3 days. And then,
Mm-hmm.
if the kiddos want something different later on in the week, well, cool, you'll have something different for later on in the week. But for
Got
the
it.
first part of the week, you have what you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And there's a whole psychology around food and stuff that we could talk about in another episode, but we don't want to get too derailed here. Um, but so, well, let me ask you this. Like, do you and your family have any like special dietary needs, or is it just sort of whatever you come up with creatively for meals?
Um, I have a peanut allergy
Okay.
that I developed when I turned 30. I used to always love peanuts and peanut butter. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Reese's, so it's kind of horrible, but it
Oh.
is what it is. And some other nuts that I just try to avoid or stay away from. We don't have any real dietary restrictions, except for those that I put around our meals. So I know you touched on the like psychology of it, but for me, it's more about choice, and I again it comes back to just being super duper intentional. And I've tried to teach that to my little one from the jump. Like my son like is the type of person you can put an entire cake in front of him or an entire bowl of ice cream because he likes ice cream better than cake. I'm the cake person. But you can put an entire bowl of ice cream in front of him and he's still only going to eat until he's full. Like he's
That's
not going to
great.
indulge like because he knows better. And I think a lot of it is more the shaping, right? Like kids are often taught like, well, you need to eat all your food, like you have to eat your whole plate, you know? And that's what's being like a good eater or a good
Right.
child, is finishing their plate. I've never said that, once to my kiddo. Even when, as soon as he could talk and like understand, it's always been, okay, are you full? You don't want any more? And if the answer is yes, I'm full, or no, I don't want any more, my response is okay, because that's really, I think where you learn your limits. It's
Yeah.
not being expected to overeat. Because even myself, I've always gotten backlash like, oh, you're not going to finish that? No, I'm not. Because I'm full and I respect my body enough that, I mean, it's
Yeah.
good, but I'm not going to guilt myself into eating it.
Yeah. I
And
think
that's
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, we also have never told our kids they need to finish their plate.
mhm.
We've definitely had family that have
Yeah.
said that to our children, and we have to step in and say, no, you don't need to finish your plate. You eat until you're full. Um,
Yes. Same. Mhm.
um, but when I talk about dietary restrictions, so like I know there's a ton of people with food sensitivities and allergies and whatnot, but
Yeah.
for us, like my kids don't really have food sensitivities, but we have made the decision that we want to limit their exposure to certain types of foods while they're young. So like we don't do pizza nights, like they don't eat, we don't have like desserts at home. Like their idea of dessert is a banana or fruit. We don't do fried food or sort of like more typical junk greasy type food, which to be honest kind of limits what I'm preparing.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a part of me that sort of wonders, this is a complete side topic, and I'm sure we'll find an episode where we can prepare and talk about this separately, but I kind of wonder, like, are we setting them up for problems down the road because we're not really exposing them to the food. So like my kids know on their own, like if there's a birthday party at school, they don't eat cupcakes. Like we don't eat that stuff. We don't do like added sugar or anything like that. And honestly, my kids have enough energy on their own. Like they don't need the added sugar boost.
Yeah.
um, but in terms of grocery shopping, so like what that means is the majority of our shopping is around fresh food because that's what they eat. And I will say, like, we have two kids, and they're both very different in terms of their palates. Like my
Mhm.
youngest one will eat anything you put in front of her. Like her latest thing is she loves sushi.
Hmm.
So like that's the one thing, like we'll get, pre-made sushi or like order occasionally, but she loves like that type of stuff. My son, like my oldest, is very picky. Like I can count on my hand, there's like 5 things he'll eat, and that's the only thing he'll eat. Or he'll opt for fruit for dinner, basically. So I find myself struggling with, okay, like, how do I manage two completely different palates and a kid who will literally starve himself because he won't eat? And we've tried this, we've experimented with it and have done the whole, like, this is what's available for the meal, and if you don't want to eat it, you don't have to, it's your choice. And he literally starved himself for like a week, wouldn't eat the food we were making because he only wants like granola and almond milk, turkey and cheese wraps, like quesadillas, which I do put broccoli in, and he'll eat it. I think that's about it. That's 3 things. There's only like, oh, bagel and cream cheese, which we don't do anymore because they were getting addicted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think there's like the whole other topic of, um, you know, the downstream impact of that. There are dietary restrictions that I impose at home, but I don't completely eliminate anything. I am more about moderation.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what I want to be able to teach my kiddo. And I don't think that anyone is like either one of them is like right or wrong, because your kiddos could grow up to be like really really clean eaters, um and that's like a really great thing, and then my kiddo, I don't will hopefully continue to just be somebody who knows how to eat in moderation, like all the things, but just
Yeah.
like in moderation. So there are restrictions, like in terms of, well, we're not going to do like red meat, more than once in the week, or we're not going to
Mm.
um I don't know, like we're not going to do a ton of sugar, and like those
Yeah.
types of restrictions. And I used to be like, like I said, like when I was eating um my diet to like help with the weight loss and all of that fun stuff, it was very very like vegetable based.
Hmm.
And my little one, you know is toying with the idea of going vegetarian because of compassion for animals. We've actually tried going vegan, but he wasn't enjoying it very much,
Yeah.
and that's
Vegan
okay.
is tough to do.
um yeah, but we'll probably get back to at least being vegetarian. But I think, in a situation like that, because I do believe very heavily in nature and nurture, I think that some kids are just going to be more picky.
Hmm.
And as taste buds change, like it's like every 7 years or something like that, like our taste buds change, is what they say,
Right.
right? So that's going to change things too. Like I used to be able to give my kiddo a lot of different things, when he was younger, but now that he is older and more conscious, and really acquiring like his own taste, um I really do have to take his ideas and his opinions into consideration, and respect them. Like if he says it's not something he loves,
Yeah.
and kind of take my personal wants or desires out of it, and respect the fact that he's an individual and he does have that power of choice. and
Yeah.
and that's something that's really important for me, is to treat my child as an individual, not really tell him how to live his life. Like I just want to guide. um
Yeah. Well,
so
so let's go back. There's two things that I want to ask you about. So we started talking about like meal planning and then like shopping on a budget.
yeah.
So first question is, when you're planning your budget for grocery shopping, like which are you doing first? Are you looking at like, here's how much I have to spend for groceries, or here are the meals, and then figuring out how do you make those meals work within a budget that you've set for yourself
Yeah, so my budget for my groceries is the same thing every single week. It's $140.
for the whole week,
And
like, or for
yeah,
each trip?
for the whole week. And
Okay.
that's it. So when I make my grocery list, I will list out my items that I need.
Hmm.
And then I put what I expect to spend for each item on
And
that
this is
list.
for the two of you now, because you're not shopping for your mom anymore, right?
Right. Yep. It's just for the two of us, and it's at 140 because inflation. Like the same items that I would have bought a year ago cost more now. So
Yeah.
I had to. Otherwise, I feel like he and I could do $100 a week. And then there are occasionally things that I want to do as extra. Like maybe I want to bake a cake or something like that. Those ingredients would be a little bit more. So 140 a week. But I'll list out what I need for the entire week, not by
Hmm.
grocery trip, but for the entire week. And then I'll separate out, well, what's the stuff that I'm going to buy on Sunday? What am I going to buy on Wednesday? And I give myself an, expected amount that I'm going to spend each of those days. It's
Okay.
actually a savings challenge that I created. A couple of years ago. So I call it the Groceries 52 Savings Challenge.
Okay.
And so every time I create my grocery list, I put, well, this is how much I expect this item to cost. So if it's like something like milk, I'll think about, well, what size of milk am I going to buy? And then I'm like, okay, well, it's $3 and change, so I'm going to round that up to $4. And everything that I put on that list, I try to overestimate it like a bit. I round everything up to the whole dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when I go grocery shopping, I can see how much it actually costs, and then I can save that money because I had expected to spend it in the first place. So since I
Sure.
didn't spend it, I'm gonna save it instead. And that helps me. It's like you're not saving a ton of money every week, like
Right.
20-30 bucks, like not right now with inflation. I'm saving like maybe five, but it's not so much about the saving money. It's more about you know, the behavior of getting good at only buying what's on your grocery list and also
Mm-hmm.
sticking to your budget so that you're not like, well, yay, now I have more money to spend so I can pick up more stuff and then end up going over budget or buying stuff that
Right.
will ultimately expire.
Okay. And then the second part of my question is, how involved is your son in the meal planning and even in understanding what's happening with like your budget and how you budget for groceries?
Pretty involved. I think that if I don't share that, then I'm just being somebody who is like saying no or something or not giving, him the things that he wants. And I
Sure.
don't want that because that does affect, child's self-esteem allegedly. So I don't want to do that too much.
Yeah. And that touches
So
a
I,
little bit on the last couple episodes where we talked about money and how you
yeah,
talk to your kids about money.
yeah, exactly. So I, I do like I'll ask him like when I am planning for the week in particular. I'll say, hey, like, are there any meals that you want for this week? What about for lunch? What about your breakfast foods? And I don't eat breakfast myself unless it's like a brunch or breakfast on Saturdays. But during the week, my breakfast is just coffee until I eat like a salad for lunch. Or sometimes something a little bit more exciting if my kiddo wants something more exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Does he eat
but
the salad? Like, do you make a salad for the both of you or he eats something different?
he'll eat salad on the side,
Okay.
but knowing that he's, an active kiddo and
Yeah.
growing, I don't want him just eating a salad for lunch. Because I feel that, I need to give him a little bit more than that. So, I'll give him carbs like where he's maybe having something that has like bread involved. I won't have the bread and I'll have
Mhm.
extra lettuce. But yeah, he's
So like
liked
a
salad.
sandwich or
Yeah, like if it's a sandwich, even like if it's a ham and cheese sandwich, I'll turn it into a Cobb salad for myself. But he
mm,
can have the salad. I mean, the sandwich and a salad on the side. But he's enjoyed salad since the age of 2. So
yeah.
and that is I'm completely fine with that. Like if that's your healthy item of choice, like he likes other things too, but he really
Yeah.
likes salad. Um,
Well,
but
so
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't expect I guess like for just that to hold him over. And especially right now, my little one has some like health challenges. Like
Yeah.
it's really remarkable that his appetite is as great as it is. So I definitely don't try to limit other than making
Yeah.
sure like it's home cooked meals and I substitute where I can like um, for better options, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, what were you gonna
So
say?
I was going to ask you like what kinds of I think I mentioned the types of things that my oldest, my picky eater will eat. What
Hmm.
are the types of things that are on the menu at the Brown household?
Well, well, my little one became more of a picky eater like as time goes on.
Yeah.
Like he's tried sushi and he's tried like all sorts of different things, but as time goes on, like he is becoming a little bit more of a picky eater, and I respect that. But I still try him with a lot of different things. So
Okay.
definitely likes like roasted chicken or chicken of some sort, like barbecue chicken, which is, fine. Like I'd rather do chicken with as few hormones as possible
Yeah.
um, than red meat. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like last night we did, a roasted chicken and mashed potatoes and salad on the
Mm-hmm.
side. So, and I'm, completely fine with that because now I have that leftover roasted chicken because it's just the two of us. So now I can shred that chicken and turn it into like pulled barbecue sandwiches, or in my case, it'll be a barbecue chicken salad, you
Right.
know?
Or
So,
tacos or
yeah, well, my little one doesn't like chicken tacos, loves
oh
regular
really?
tacos. If I make them with pork or if I make them with beef, loves it.
Oh,
Will
interesting.
not eat chicken tacos. Used to like chicken burritos when he was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Will not eat that anymore. Um,
Yeah, I
so,
forgot my picky eater will eat chicken or turkey tacos.
yeah, like it's just those little nuances, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like it's cool. But that's
Yeah.
something. See, I always make sure that we do have tortillas on hand
Yeah.
because I feel like that's always an easy like lunch in particular. Like if whatever it is, like he can't decide like what he wants, then I can be like, okay, well, why don't I make you some quesadillas? And he's like completely happy. Like, and usually there's some type of leftover meat or veggie or something that I can use in the quesadillas, or
Yeah.
making like egg tacos or egg burritos like for breakfast in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. Like, that's something that is always quick, easy, and enjoyable. So it gets him to eat something that's like home cooked, but also like not horrible because a
Not
tortilla
boring.
versus a whole bunch of bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so
Have you ever tried to make your own tortillas? Because I know you said you're a baker.
no, I don't do any bread. I want to, do stuff like that, but you know, I've never done anything like that. But I want to because homemade or tortillas like taste good. Like his other side of family is Mexican,
Yeah.
so one of his great aunts made homemade tortillas once, like a long time ago, and they were like seriously some of the best tortillas that I've tasted.
Yeah.
Like they're so good. But no, like whenever we'll see if I ever dabble in that. Homemade pasta, that's something that
Oh,
I
that's
I
on my
enjoy.
list. So I'm a baker as
Yeah.
well, but I bake bread. I
Hmm.
have not done tortillas yet, but it's on my list, and homemade pasta is on my list.
Yeah, homemade pasta is like really easy, and it's like so much more fresh than buying like pasta in a box. Like usually if
Yeah.
I'm doing spaghetti, I do the whole grain pasta, or like do the zucchini noodles or something like that, but
Yeah.
it's
And
way
apparently
better if you just make it
it's
at home.
very easy to make, by the way,
Yes,
homemade
it
pasta.
is. Yeah,
And you don't
and to
even need
store
like
it.
a pasta roll or anything like that. You just roll it out and cut it into strips or, whatever shape.
Yeah, use your knife, and
Yep.
it's really really easy. Um but yeah, so I keep him pretty involved in asking for suggestions. If there's something that I want to make, then I say like, hey, I just want you to be open to this. And then there's always the question, well, what if I don't like it? I don't know. We'll worry about it at that time. I
Yeah.
always have a backup plan or something that I can make for him, like, by having tortillas always on hand or something like that. I can always be
Right.
like, okay, well, have a quesadilla. But I just kind of curtail the mindset to be like, hey, like just give it a real try. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry. You are not going to go hungry. You're going to have what you need, because I feel like that's more like what the fear is. It's like, well, what if I'm hungry? You're not going to go hungry. Everything's going to be okay. I just want
Yeah.
you to give it a fair try. And like, that's kind of how I like phrase it for him. And then, then he does. He gives it a fair try. And if he doesn't like it, then I'll employ a backup plan. But a lot of times, like, it does work out.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the grocery shopping, I do let him kind of like navigate the list. The Publix that we used to go to. So I would also color code my grocery list
Okay.
based on like where it is in the store because it gets you out a lot faster
Yeah.
grocery shopping. And I also go at 7 o'clock in the morning right when they open, so it's nice
Okay.
and empty. Because
Does
like
your
if you're
son
in
go with
there,
you?
yeah, because like if you're in there just lingering, then you're gonna start getting hungry, and grocery shopping hungry is just not wise, right?
Yeah.
And then it just creates more opportunities to pick up stuff. So I ask him too, like after we've done the meal plan, I do ask him like, hey, are there any snacks that you want for this week? Any, fruit? Like when it's fruit for my little one, it's, apples, mandarins, and grapes are like his fruits. So I'm like,
Yeah.
do you not want, grapes this week? Do you, and I just kind of feel him out before I go to the grocery store, because he knows like we don't really pick up things at the grocery store. Maybe I'll put like a line item depending on what other things I'm picking up. Maybe I'll put like a $10 placeholder and be like, okay, if there's something that I forgot, or if there's just something that my kiddo didn't think of when I asked him, because neither one of us are perfect or gonna
Yeah,
remember.
of
Like
course.
I'll put that placeholder on there, but if it goes above that, or if it's something we truly just don't need and it's like, well, this looks good, so I want to get it, I'm like, nah, man, we can try it another time.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't, go in the budget. And there's no pushback there, because like it's been
It's a routine now. He
the
knows
route.
how it
Yeah.
works.
He's like, yeah, all right, cool, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, on another episode, we'll have to talk about the psychology of food, because I think there's definitely like a whole psychological aspect to the choices that we make when it comes to food. And that would be an interesting thing to talk about.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely would be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This was great. Hope everyone listening got some kind of insight on how do you grocery shop on a budget, and how do you manage your groceries to make sure you're not wasting that food. And we will see you on the next episode.
All right, bye everybody.